everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is Ruben Amorim's press conference before the Premier League game against Bournemouth. 3 points at home are a must. And Ruben Amorim has been talking about Mason Mount. Huge injury blow for Mason Mount. Is it time to cut ties with this player? Because he's going to be out, according to Ruben Amorim, for quite a long time once again. Also some news on Antony, where his future lies at Manchester United. Is it as a Manchester United player or could it be elsewhere? Also a little bit on Marcus Rashford. He is available for selection for Manchester United on Sunday. Ruben Amorim confirms. Would you select him? Don't want to speak too much on Marcus Rashford because it feels like it's just the same conversation every single day, but we've got to react to the news, and he was asked a little bit about that, a little bit about the team as well, where there's improvements, how the team progresses further, how he wishes he could work, how he wishes he could have more time with his team and what he would do with the time, but how he is impressed so far with the improvement of the team, but where also Manchester United need to do more work. Get your comments in, get your super chats in, get involved in the chat. But let's get into things. Ruben Amorim's press conference reaction. So he starts off by being asked on Mason Mount. And this is what he says on Mason Mount and his injury and how long he will be out for. He said, several weeks. I don't know the exact date, but he's going to be for a long time. And that is it. That is part of football, and you continue. That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. Several weeks for Mason Mount. And Ruben Amorim said he doesn't know an exact time, but it's going to be a long time. It's sad. And like I said, I would never wish an injury on a player. And every time a player goes down injured, I always want for the best for them. I always hope it's not that serious. You've seen it with Lindelof yesterday. He looked absolutely gutted when he came off. He looked like he was on the verge of tears, genuinely. When Mason Mount came off in the derby, he looked gutted. No player wants to be injured, but we are not a charity at the end of the day. Mason Mount has got the number 7 on his back. We paid £60 million for him. And he's not been able to stay fit for a sustained period of time for Manchester United. He's barely put a run of games together. Even the most injury-prone players we've had, Luke Shaw, Antony, Martial, they've had seasons. They've at least had seasons where they've been able to put a season together of a good performance. You know, Martial had lockdown Martial where he was flying. Luke Shaw had that first season under Ten Hag. He also had a season under Ollie. Mason Mount's not been able to even put a season together. He's not even been able to put a couple of months together. So, I mean, I hold my hands up. I wanted Mason Mount at the football club. I think he's a very good footballer. When it comes to footballing attributes, you know, he's got them. He's fantastic at pressing. He's good on the ball. He's good at set pieces. He keeps it simple. He keeps the ball ticking. He's an intelligent footballer. If you look at Champions League Mason Mount at Chelsea, he was flying. But unfortunately, he has not been able to stay fit. And if you can't have a player stay fit, there's no point having them around. Availability is the best ability. And for me, Mason Mount's been at this football club for a long enough period of time now where I can sit back and I can be realistic and I can say, I don't think he's ever going to stay fit. I don't think he is. And there's a rumour that apparently he had an injury when he was at Chelsea that was nearly a career ender, but he's managed to get himself, you know, back up and playing football. But it's clearly reoccurring. It's clearly a reoccurring injury. That is his problem, a nearly a career-ending injury. We weren't to know that. As fans just analysing a footballer, how are we supposed to know that? That is the job of the medical team and whoever's doing the medical when he comes into the club to pick up on that. And we clearly didn't. And all we did, and we took a risk. Well, that risk hasn't paid off, and in the future, a lot of things are changing at this football club. A lot of things are changing. In previous times, we've gone and spent £86 million on Antony. We've gone and spent £80 million on Harry Maguire. We've gone and spent £73 million on Sancho. We've gone and spent huge sums of money on players. That's stopping. We're nipping that in the bud. What we also need to nip in the bud is high wages. We're starting to nip that in the bud, but buying players that aren't 100% guaranteed to provide you with minutes on the football pitch. Of course, these players have to be good enough and they've got to have the right attitude. That's another thing that under Ruben Amorim we're going to be looking at as well. Attitude, work ethic, physicality. But the main thing is we need durable players. These are going to be long seasons. You're playing a lot of games. Ruben Amorim's spoken about how many games you have to play over the course of the season, especially if you wanted to be competing in every single competition. You need players that are going to be there and are going to be fit, are going to be available and ready for the fight. Mason Mount, another, as good as he is, and I actually think, you know, in terms of mentality and everything like that, he's got it. It's just the injury situation is where he's letting himself down. But Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, Victor Lindelof can even go into that category now. They're players in your squad that are taking up a place and taking up a wage when you could have someone there who's hungry, who's ready, who's available to fight and play every single week. So your squad, it's not as strong as it could be because you have injury-prone players getting a wage every single week. You know, in Mason Mount's case, he's got the number 7 shirt, which is obviously such an iconic shirt for Manchester United. Someone who's available and can provide every week should be wearing that shirt. You know, Luke Shaw, we're desperately in need of a left-back or a left wing-back. We don't have one because we've got too many players for that position. We've got Luke Shaw and Malacia. Malacia, I don't think is quite good enough, and Luke Shaw is consistently injured. We need players who are fit and available. And Amorim coming out in this press conference saying several weeks, it's going to be a long time. That could be a while. That could be a while, and it's just not good enough. I said that when Mount got fit, when Amorim came in, the main thing Mason Mount needs to do now is, of course, you've got to perform, and I actually think he was doing pretty well when he was getting his opportunities on the pitch. I expected more from him, but he was doing pretty well. He was getting picked for the big games. He got picked for Arsenal. He got picked for City. Amorim clearly rated him as a footballer. He is good. But I said the main thing he needs to focus on is staying fit for a sustained period of time. And he's not managed to do it once again. And it's not his fault. He doesn't want to be injured, but we can't carry players. If we want to fight for the Premier League like Ruben Amorim wants to do, and people might laugh at that, but eventually that's what we want to do. I'm in a complete reality, real sense of the word. I'm in a complete real world when I say I know we can't compete for the Premier League right now. But in the future, if we want to be competing for the Premier League, which is what Ruben Amorim wants to do, we can't afford to carry passengers. We can't afford to carry injury-prone players, and we need to wean them out of the football club, and we need to make sure that players we go for in the future are durable. So it's unfortunate for Mason Mount. I genuinely do think I do think that it's time to cut ties and move on. And that's coming from someone who really did want Mount at the football club. I just don't see a future with him if he can't stay fit for a period of time. It's just this never-ending cycle of, oh, he's back. Oh, he's not again. And we can't have that. We can't. The best players, even across the Premier League, are ones that are available on a weekly basis. I mean, look at what Bruno Fernandes provides. Mo Salah, never injured. Never injured. Son, never injured. Like the Saka, barely ever injured. The best players for each team, they keep themselves fit and available. The only thing for Mount is he is only 25. Can he get into a space where he chooses a different road of recovery, or they work with him in a different way to keep him fit? I don't know. But it's just hopes and dreams FC again, isn't it? Can we do this? Can we do that? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And Mount has been injured continuously ever since he joined Manchester United 2 years ago, and I don't think it's going to change, unfortunately. But get in the comments down below your thoughts on this and whether you would move Mason Mount on. Let's actually get a poll running throughout the show. Would you sell Mason Mount in the summer if you can? And would you just cut ties because of his injury record? And there's even more pressure on him because he's wearing the number 7. I mean, people will say it's just a number. People will say, oh, you shouldn't judge him because of the shirt number. But people are going to look at that. It is an iconic number. You know, we've had Cantona wear that. We've had Cristiano Ronaldo wear that number. We've had, you know, icons of this football club, legends of this football club wear that number. You want someone to be performing in that number on a consistent basis. So I wouldn't sell him because he's wearing the number 7. I would sell him because he can't stay fit. But get in your comments down below. Would you sell Mason Mount? Would you cut ties? And this is coming from a big Mason Mount fan. I can take my red tinted glasses off and say, as much as I think he is a good football player, he does need to go, unfortunately, because it's the same with Marcus Rashford. Can he get back to his best? Can Mason Mount stay fit? Can Marcus Rashford get back to his best? Can he get back to that 30-goal season? It's hopes and dreams. It's, you know, if people show you who they are, believe them, and you've got to go off what is the consistent basis of these players. And the consistency of Rashford is he's not performing. The consistency of Mason Mount is he's not available. And you've got to make the decisions based off what they are consistently showing you. I've seen a lot of people say that Ahmad should get the number 7. If Mason Mount does go, one thing I will say is you cannot rush into giving that number 7 away. You can't rush into it. Everybody in this, well, not everybody, a lot of people wanted Garnacho to get the number 7. In hindsight, was that a good idea? No. It was too early. It was too early. I said at the time it was too early for Garnacho. I said I wouldn't have given it Mason Mount either. I would have kept hold of it. Whoever gets that number 7 shirt, it should be earned through sustained periods of good form. Not a few good months, not, you know, a really good game. Sustained period of form where you're like, they have grafted and they deserve that number 7. So if the number 7 does become available, I would be keeping that shirt until somebody thoroughly deserves it. And I know a lot of people are getting hyped. Give Ahmad the number 7. A couple of seasons ago, everybody wanted to give Garnacho the number 7. They don't want to give it him now, probably, at this moment in time. Ahmad is doing fantastically well, but we've built players up before just to knock them down. Let's just take a breather, and when a player thoroughly deserves it, then give it out. I do think Ahmad, though, does show a lot of promise in that sense of things. Enjoy Writing This says, how are you after yesterday, Beth? I'm good. Obviously, never want to get knocked out of the cup, but I think we need to focus on the Europa League. I've said the Europa League's our priority. That's the best way into the Champions League. We've won the Carabao Cup quite recently. We got to see who's good enough and who's not. I think Amorim learnt a lot, and positives we can take is we are building under Amorim. The foundations are there. I said it on the fans forum last night. So I'm fine. I'm fine today. I really am. The performance, apart from the individual mistakes, I was okay with. I can see where we're going, and that's important. Miles Doig says, don't want to see him leave, but it's inevitable. Exactly. Like, I wanted it to work. If Mason Mount could get fit and you knew for a fact he was going to stay fit, I'd keep him, but he's not going to. Enjoy Writing says, I'm ready to move on from Marcus, Beth. Yeah, I think a lot of people are at this moment in time. Would you sell Mount? Get your votes in the chat. But yeah, as Amorim said, he's going to be out for a long time. Amorim also, will just quickly skirt over it and then we'll move on. He got asked if Rashford is available for selection on the weekend, if he's fit and if he's ready, and he said yes, of course he is available. Disciplinary issue, no, it's the same thing, guys. So he's basically saying it's not a disciplinary issue, it's the same thing as what he said at the derby. How you train, how you conduct yourself will determine whether you get into my matchday squad. Alejandro Garnacho and Marcus Rashford were both dropped out of the derby. Two different responses. Marcus Rashford drops an interview saying he wants to leave, and Alejandro, I don't know, I assume without Amorim knowing, because Amorim did say that he would have gone to the manager first. Alejandro Garnacho clearly trained well, like Amorim said, worked to get back into the team. He was part of the squad for Spurs. His cameo wasn't great, but he was part of the squad for Spurs, and he clearly knuckled down in training. So what Amorim is saying, it's the same thing. You know, he's not done enough in training or the way he conducts himself behind the scenes to get into my squad. If he does enough, if he works hard, if he trains well, if he does the right things, he'll be part of the squad for Bournemouth. If he doesn't, he won't be. Do I think it goes a little bit deeper than this now? Maybe, because I do think Amorim, even though he's tried to play it down, will be frustrated with that interview that dropped without his knowledge of it, you know, without Rashford going directly to the manager. But I don't think he wants to create headlines, which is what he said. I think he handles the media excellently well. I think he's a fantastic communicator, Ruben Amorim. He'll deal with it behind the scenes. He's currently just focused on the team. Do I think Marcus Rashford will be part of the squad for Bournemouth? I can't call it. If he's not, then the writing's on the wall. I'll put it this way. If Marcus Rashford isn't part of the squad again for Bournemouth at the weekend, I think he might have played his last game for Manchester United, which is quite sad. If he is, then you would think that the issues have been resolved. And when I say resolved, I mean, I think there'll be an agreement. You know, if you train well, you work hard, you'll be part of this team until you do leave. I don't think there's a way back for Marcus Rashford. I still think he'll be sold no matter whether he's part of the squad at the weekend or not. Get in the comments down below though, do you think he'll be part of the squad? My gut instinct is I don't think he will. I think Amorim's really going to kind of put his foot down on this one. He will get asked more and more about it though, the longer he stays out, but I don't think Ruben Amorim's going to compromise his own principles just for the sake of an easy time in the media. And so there's less questions about Rashford to him. I bet he's frustrated that all he keeps getting asked about is Rashford when the team performances are improving and there's other things to talk about. But I don't think Amorim's the type to back down his own principles just to kind of get an easy ride from the media. I don't think he is that guy. So I don't suspect he will be part of the squad for Sunday's game. But get in the comments what do you think? Amir says work hard, play smart. And we've got a lot of people saying that they don't think that he will be. I mean, would Ahmad get the number 10 shirt if Marcus Rashford went? A lot of people talking about him with the 7. Would he get the number 10? I mean, I think it's way too early to think about them things, but they're the comments that are coming in. In regards to would you sell Mason Mount in the summer, the votes are in, and so far we've got 86% saying yes and 14% saying no. What would be interesting is if I think if I ran another poll on that and I said, would you sell Mount based on ability or availability, I think it would be like 90% availability. That's what's letting him down. In other players, it's the form that's letting him down. So I agree, by the way. I agree. I would sell Mason Mount in the summer if we could get any money for him. The thing is, though, it's who's going to come in and pay Mason Mount out of his contract? What's he on? 240 grand a week? Again, another... the wage is too high. 240 grand a week, and he's on a contract. We paid 60 mil for him. I doubt we're going to cut ties. I doubt it. But sometimes you just got to kind of cut your losses. Does Manchester United just kind of hope that he'll be able to turn it around? But I think that's, again, just hoping for something that's very unlikely. Enjoy Writing says Amorim has to keep his word and give him a shot. I mean, would you give him a shot? I think he's had way too many chances. I'm going to be honest. I think Amorim gave Marcus Rashford the biggest chance when he first came into Manchester United and he squandered it. He played him up front in his first game against Ipswich. You know, he then continued to play him afterwards. And it's funny, actually, because everyone was talking about in that Everton game, oh, Marcus Rashford scored 2 goals, he's back. And this is how I know we've got a serious manager that understands football. Marcus Rashford didn't start the next game. He scored 2 good goals in the Everton game, but his overall performance wasn't that good. It wasn't that good, and Amorim values performance. He values performance. And I think Rashford, again, he's a victim of getting carried away with, oh, I've scored 2 goals now. You know, I've scored 2 goals against Everton. That's not enough. It's not enough when you're on 300 and odd grand a week. You're the highest paid player, and we want to see performances week in, week out. You've got to keep working hard, keep grafting in training, keep putting everything in. And Amorim clearly saw that wasn't what was happening. I feel like in the past for Manchester United, the bare minimum has got you by. You know, it's like, you know, when you go to work and it's like, oh, you know what, I've done what I needed to do for the day, but I'm not going to go that extra mile. I'm not going to do that extra. I feel like that's been allowed to slip at Manchester United for so long, where it's just the bare minimum. Oh, I've scored a goal today. That's me done. No, I need 90-minute performance of ultimate hard work. I need you to run like a dog, which is what Amorim said. I need you to give absolutely everything. I need you to give everything in training. I need you to conduct yourself with professionalism behind the scenes. I need you to be a leader behind the scenes. You are a senior player. And I need you to give absolutely everything you can every single day, especially when you're on the wage that you're on and we're Manchester United. But I don't think them standards have been implemented across the board, not just for Marcus Rashford, but for all the players. But that is a culture that Ruben Amorim's trying to enforce into Manchester United. Amorim also gets asked about Antony, and he said he got asked on Antony, and I watched the presser actually, and he got asked, like, have you been impressed with him? Has he got a future under you? And he said he needs more confidence. He lacks a little bit of confidence to go 1 against 1. He will improve, but he's working hard and he's trying. He's playing more inside than outside, especially in the Spurs game. But you have to work really hard, and I will help him to be a better player. And he was highlighting how hard he works. And what I got from Ruben Amorim is if you work your socks off and you work hard, you will have a chance under me. Antony didn't have a good performance against Spurs. Actually, it was really poor. And I think we can come to the conclusion that Antony is not a number 10 in this system. He's not. Antony's best chance of playing under Ruben Amorim is as a wing-back. That's his only opportunity in this team, in my opinion. As a 10, it's not going to happen. He's not good enough on the ball. He gets pushed off the ball too much. You've got to have strength. You've got to have guile, as Ricky would say. And if you just look at Ahmad compared to Antony, it's chalk and cheese. I think where he's played well in recent weeks and actually, really impacted the game in a positive way, Pilsen, the derby, is coming on at wing-back. And I actually think his relationship on that right-hand side with Ahmad has been really good. Ahmad is a 10 and Antony is a wing-back. I think that's where his future lies, if he does have a future. It's a big if. That's where he's done his best under Ruben Amorim. But Amorim gave him a shot at playing the 10. It didn't work yesterday. I don't think that's going to be a future spot for Antony. But what Ruben Amorim did highlight is, even though obviously he didn't have his best game against Spurs, he's been working incredibly hard. That is what he expects from every single player. We need both. We need work ethic and we need quality. But you will always have a chance if you work hard, and that is Ruben Amorim's principles. Because we've had players that have ability but don't put in the work. And that's unacceptable. He also gets asked about being back at Old Trafford, and he says it was really hard, the Nottingham Forest game, to lose in the way that we lost. So I'm looking forward to hearing that song and playing for our fans and trying to put happiness into their lives. Just basically saying he's happy to be back at Old Trafford. He wants to see the fans again. He's going to try and put right the Nottingham Forest result, how it was super frustrating. He gets asked again on Mason Mount's injuries. He said, that is not my department. What I can do is help Mount to teach him how to play our game. When he's recovering, try to use that time for him to think about different things. The worst part is that we don't have time to train like we should when you are recovering a lot from injuries. So Ruben Amorim just basically saying, if I can help him in terms of footballing, but it's the physios that need to help him on how to recover better. That's not my department. My department is, when you're fit and ready to play for the team, I can coach you on how to play your best football, and I'll continue to do that while he's injured. But in getting fit, that's him and his physios. That's what they need to work out, and they've not managed to get to the solution thus far. He then gets asked about how he's spoken. He wishes he had more time, and it's quick succession, and there's not enough time basically for him to enforce everything that he'd want to. And he gets asked on if he didn't have a schedule that was as busy, and if he did have more time, what did he feel? What does he feel like he would need to do, and what would he like to do more of? And he said, training, it's as simple as that, because you are rotating players. When you rotate players, it's really hard to work in every connection. So if you are always working with a different guy next to you, it's really hard to work on that connection. If I have more time, I will use it to train the team. So he's basically saying, and I watched it so you can interpret it better when you watch someone speak. Amorim was basically saying he'd use training to work more on connections across the pitch. When you're playing with different players because you have to rotate because of a busy schedule, it's harder to get that connection and that chemistry in the field. So he's basically saying I'd work more on, the front three having that chemistry, the ones that are playing together, ones that are my first team. I'd work more on the defensive partnerships. For example, if it's Mazraoui and Ahmad, as the right 10 and the right wing back, you'd work on that connection more. You'd also work on the connection if it's Antony and Ahmad, or whatever it is, Dallo and Bruno, work on that connection. You'd work on these connections across the pitch to increase the chances of them patterns of play that he is trying to enforce in being successful, because it's like second nature, knowing that player's next move, knowing how they work, because that is also something in football. It's something that's really important. Having that, if you have that connection and you are used to playing with a certain player week in, week out, and you know their game, on the field, it helps you a lot, because you already kind of know what their next move's going to be, what they're likely to do, where they're likely to move to, what their decision's going to be. You just have that natural chemistry, and it helps the game flow better. And it makes it easier for you to, especially in the final third, I feel like, penetrate the final third and create passages of play that are more likely to be successful and have more longevity in them, and you can build up that play better because you have that connection all around the front line. Defensively as well, if, for example, you could see the lack of connection when Lisandro Martinez doesn't step in for that offside. And then we completely get done. I think it's Solanke that ends up scoring. I think it was Solanke. I can't actually quite remember. But you can see, that back three that haven't really played together much compared to the back three that have played together. There is a difference because players' games more. You have that natural leader that's leading that back line. So he talks about training, and I think it is important to note that Ruben Amorim hasn't had a pre-season. Pre-season's huge when new managers come in. He doesn't get time on the training ground because we're playing, we're recovering, we're playing again. I mean, Spurs was last night, we're already doing a Bournemouth press conference reaction. That shows how in quick succession the games are coming. So this season for Ruben Amorim, for me, and I've said this, for me as a fan, Ruben Amorim this season, all I want to see is a style of play, where we are going to, a direction. I'm already seeing that. I can safely say I can already see the foundations. We've not got the individual quality. That needs to improve. But the foundations are there. Our team performances are without a doubt improving. You can see more patterns of play. You can see how Ruben Amorim wants to play. You can see that. What is needed is patience and transfer windows. That is what's needed. It's not going to happen straight away. You're going to need time. Ruben Amorim's going to need time. But I wanted to see a style. I wanted to see the direction we're going in. I've already started to see that. Next season is where, you give Ruben Amorim the transfer window, you give him the pre-season, and then you expect more. I'm okay with losing, but the performances are better. At this moment in time, next season, of course, your standards are going to be a bit higher. If you're seeing the performances but you're still losing games, you're like, no, I want to be winning more. But at this moment in time, when he's barely got any chance to spend with the team, he's not had a transfer window to hand, and, he's literally playing 2 games a week. What I'm seeing right now, I'm quite happy with, to be honest with you. I actually really am happy with. It's like, I would rather, I never want to lose a game of football, but I would rather lose against Spurs the way that we did, but know that we have performed much better away from home against a good side than scrape a win, but the performance was shocking, which is what we've seen previously. I can, sometimes, like Ruben Amorim did say, you can cover up the cracks, but our performances are improving and the foundations are there. So that's what I want from Ruben Amorim. And when he has more time on the training ground, that's when I think you'll see even more. You'll see quicker progression. And transfer windows are needed. As much as Ruben Amorim says, you've got to work with the current team. He does, of course. He's got, he can't. The transfer window isn't even open yet. And will we actually do much in January? The jury's still out on that. But the quality of the squad needs to improve as well. The capability of the squad in terms of the physicality and the energy in the engine room, that needs to improve. The individual quality on the ball needs to improve. He needs transfers, of course he does. But this season for me is about seeing better performances. And I also think the Europa League is absolutely huge, because that's our only chance at Champions League football, in my opinion. I don't think we'll get it in the league. I think that's way too far gone. I know it's still early days, but I just think there's better teams, unfortunately, around us. I mean, I could already name Arsenal, City. City, actually, to be fair, are falling off, but I still think they'll get it. Arsenal, City, Liverpool are probably going to win the league. Chelsea look really good. And there's other teams as well. So the league, I don't think top four's possible at this moment in time. Europa League's our only chance. We really do have to put all of our eggs in that basket. And getting Champions League is important because, one, we want to be playing European football at the highest level. And two, you get more money, you can attract more players in the transfer window. It gives Ruben Amorim more strength in the transfer window in the summer. But look, everyone, that is the press conference. The poll on would you sell Mount in the summer is come to 85% yes, 15% no. So everyone's putting a strong opinion in on that. Against Bournemouth, actually, I will quickly do this at the end of the show. Against Bournemouth, would you bring Garnacho back into the starting 11? Based off his cameo, I would say no. But I've seen a lot of people say, now you've seen, most of the squad, what would you say is Ruben Amorim's best team with the players we've got available? So I'm going to do that at the end of the show, and let me know if you agree with me. I'll ask on the forum against Bournemouth, I'll ask for the panel's opinion on this. But my best Ruben Amorim team as of now, fit and available, would be Onana in goal, a back three of... It's really tough right now if I'm picking Yoro or Lisandro Martinez, because I think Lisandro Martinez has been pretty poor, apart from the derby. I thought he was fantastic in the derby, but apart from that, he's been pretty poor. For now, I'd go with Lisandro Martinez, Maguire and De Ligt. But I think Yoro's really edging himself into that team and eventually will get into that starting 11. Wing-back wise, you'd have to go with Dalot and Mazraoui, but I genuinely would put Antony left wing-back. I actually would try it. But at this moment in time, you'd have to go with Dalot and Mazraoui, 100%. Or you could even put Mazraoui left wing-back and Antony right wing-back. That left wing-back spot, it needs to be addressed ASAP. The fact you can barely even put anyone there, based off the squad we've got, is showing how much it needs to be addressed. Midfield would be Ugarte and Mainu in the pivot, and the two number 10s would be Bruno and Ahmad, and the striker would be Rasmus Højlund. That would be my best team as of now. So get in the comments what yours would be. Let me know. And would you bring Garnacho into the team for Sunday's game? Yes or no? Have a little vote on that one. You've got... It's mad to think that, you know, in my best team, Garnacho and Rashford are not in there at all. But Erik ten Hag was literally picking them every single week, and they were like the players that we relied upon. But now they just don't have a spot in the system. They just do not have a spot in the system. That's my worry with Garnacho in the future as well. Just don't see how he gets in. He's not strong enough to be a number 10 at this current moment in time, and he's not strong enough defensively to be a wing back. I don't see it. Joel Daniel says, what about Malacia? I don't think he's quite good enough, to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest, I don't think he's quite good enough. I think he can do a job in certain games, but in the future, I don't think he's strong enough to be our starting left wing back. However, he has a left foot, and I just kept thinking to myself, if we actually had a player with a decent left foot on that left-hand side to play left wing-back, we'd be so much better off in terms of attacking output. And that's why I said I would try Antony there. I can't put Antony there in my best team because I've not even seen him there. But I will try him there because the positions Dalot was getting into yesterday, imagine if you actually had someone with a good left foot. And that's Antony's strongest thing. He has a good left foot, doesn't he? So if you actually had someone there with a left foot that could get crosses into the box, it's just whether he'd be good enough defensively. And that's the question mark. Vinny Red One says, on what evidence would you have to go with Dalot? That's what I mean. Like, I don't think Dalot is a left wing back. I don't think he is a left wing back. But who else have we got? You know, it's slim pickings. Very slim pickings. Would you bring Garnacho into the team for Sunday's game? Yes or no? I'm going to say no. 61% of you say yes. Do you know what I have noticed? This community is massively still backing Garnacho and really does rate him. Everyone who's saying yes, where do you think his future is under Ruben Amorim in a starting 11? Please let me know, because as much as, you know, Garnacho has shown a lot of promise in his previous performances, and you can't forget the good games he's had for United, where he doesn't fit in this system. So that's why I don't understand how people can be so confident he should be back into the team. Where does he play? Please tell me, because are you dropping Bruno and Ahmad out of the 10s? No. Are you dropping Mainu and Ugarte out of the midfield to bring Bruno deeper? No. You playing him wing back when he's not strong enough defensively? No. So how can you say, yeah, he goes back into the team? I don't get where he goes at this current moment in time. I think his best area right now is being that super sub off the bench and working on being that impact player. Then if he does good enough there, then you can think about putting him into the starting 11. But I think the other players are doing enough in their positions to keep their place in terms of Bruno and Ahmad and Ugarte and Mainu. A couple of people still think he could potentially play a left wing back. I don't think he's strong enough defensively, guys. But look, everyone, that is the show. Hit a like on the video. Enjoy Writing says, Garnacho can go, Beth. We need a top striker. Thank you, everyone, for your super chats. Hit a like on the video. And please remember, subscribe to the channel if you've not already. So close to 2 million. Get in the comments down below, what do you think of Ruben Amorim's press conference? What do you think Ruben Amorim's best 11 is? What is the starting 11 you would start against Bournemouth at home? Lastly, before I go, I will say, a lot of people see Bournemouth and they're like, oh, we should be winning, we should be winning. That will be a tough game. They are a good side with a very good manager. I expect a tough game at the weekend. But anyway, guys, it is Friday. Last Friday before Christmas. Whatever you're doing tonight, go out and enjoy yourself. Stay tuned for the show later on, and we will see you for the match day against Bournemouth on Sunday. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I will see you on the next one.